I am trying to undo my classical liberal view of government and consider a Catholic monarchy. How would a monarchy that acknowledges Catholicism as the true religion handle other religions? Would and should religious freedom and tolerance exist?
Well, only to the degree that not doing so would bring about worse results.
Not doing what?
In other words, not tolerating other religions would bring about worse results than tolerating them. If it was going to bring about insurrection and war, you'd be entitled to coexist. But to give error the same rights as truth is something that runs entirely contrary to Catholic teaching. It isn't the error. Now, I know that since Vatican II we've talked about the rights of the individual, freedom of religion, and blah, 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 blah. But that, as even Pope Benedict has pointed out, is in contradiction to prior teaching. Now, his assertion was that the prior teaching was not infallible. But even if that's true, then neither is its denial, in which case we have to debate the question entirely on its own merits. The truth is that no society can really exist without a dominant animating principle, animating philosophy, a state religion, if you will. With the Soviet Union, it was communism. There is no God and Lenin is his prophet. With us, it is the abstract ideal of freedom, and up until the 60s, connected to it, the abstract idea of morality. And because the vast majority of Americans had an agreement on what those two things meant, it worked. It's only been since that agreement has been broken, that consensus has been broken, that the system has begun to fail. In an area where Catholics are the majority, then the faith takes up that position, and like those two other systems, it reserves the right to defend itself against elements of society that might be antithetical to it. So, for instance, in this country in the 50s, as you know, we had the House Un-American Activities Committee to deal, initially founded to battle Nazis and fascists, and then communists. Today, if you say the N-word, you'll be beaten to a pulp one way or the other. But every society defends itself. Today, if you're a homophobe or a racist or an anti-Semite, you'll be punished. Because we consider that to be beyond the pale.
I see.
Every society does that. Where they differ is in what they're defending and what they're defending against.
Okay.
So the question then, you look back historically, when Catholics have allowed non-Catholics equal rights, has that preserved the Catholic nature of the state? Or has that nature been subverted? And I would have to say that in every case, it's oddly enough been subverted.
Not so odd. Okay.
So there's your answer.
Yeah, well, you mentioned a lot of things, defense mechanisms in our country. Well, once upon a time, according to Puritan's Empire, it was illegal, a fine not to go to a Protestant service? There was various fines.
Yeah, that's true. In the old penal times.
Yeah, where you're going to debtor's prison, and debtor's prison
is not a fun place to be.
And you're not getting out unless you're
able to pay out.
Well, yeah, so.
No, it's again, I mean, this isn't something we like talking about, but the fact is that every society reserves the right to defend itself against what it would consider an enemy. Now, having said that, it's interesting that in the medieval state, while heresy was persecuted, especially the Manichaeans, who denied all authority in church and state. So you can imagine the state didn't like it any more than the church did.
Yeah.
And you can also imagine that a similar setup would not do well in this country. You know, imagine that some religion declared that they didn't need to pay income tax. How far would that go, do you think? Suddenly you'd see the First Amendment go right out the window.
Yeah.
Because if they didn't, everybody and his brother would join that faith, at least on paper. I'm a non-taxian I've just had a sudden religious conversion. I can't pay any money to the government because I'm a non-taxan. How long do you think our tolerance under the Constitution would last for, like?
Not very long.
No, hardly enough. And strangely enough, despite the fact that we are a breeding ground of weird religions and strange sects, I can't think of any that has come up with that particular idea. But that's what the Cathars believed.
Ah.
So, apart from heretics, you'll notice that the Jews in medieval Europe, unless they were run out of town, which did happen, they lived in their own settlements, the famous ghettos. And people say, oh, it was terrible the Jews were locked into ghettos, which they certainly were. What they neglect to mention is that they ran their ghettos.
Ah.
In other words, you couldn't sell pork in the ghetto. You couldn't be working. If you were some Gentile coming in on a Saturday, God help you. You better get your tuckus out of the ghetto because you're not gonna have a happy time. So there you go.
Okay.